What are ions? An ion is any atom that has a charge, either positive or negative. Well, how do atoms get a charge then? Atoms gain a charge by losing or gaining electrons. When the number of electrons isn't equal to the number of protons, the atom is an ion. Let's say we have an oxygen atom. It has 8 protons and 8 electrons. Remember, protons are positive and electrons are negative. If oxygen gains an electron, it will have more electrons than protons and have a charge of -1. We can calculate this by combining the charge of the protons and electrons. The total charge of the protons is going to be +8, and the total charge of the electrons is going to be -9. If we combine these two values, we end up with -1. Now let's say oxygen lost an electron. It would instead have 7 electrons and would have a charge of +1, as 8 minus 7 equals 1. In essence, atoms lose or gain electrons to become ions. You might be wondering now, why can't atoms lose or gain protons to become ions? After all, protons have a charge, and if atoms gained or lost protons, the unequal number of electrons and protons would mean the atom is an ion. Let's remember that the protons are held in the nucleus of the atom, which tightly holds the protons together. This makes it very hard for atoms to lose protons, or take protons away from other atoms. It makes much more sense for atoms to lose and gain electrons, which are found in the electron shells around the nucleus, especially since atoms want to reach a full valence shell. If you are unaware of what valence shells are, and why atoms want to reach a full valence shell, there is a video linked in the description explaining valence shells. Now let's talk about cations and anions. These are just names for ions that have positive or negative charges. Cations are ions with positive charges, and anions are ions with negative charges. How can we remember this? Cats have paws, so we can think of this as cations are positive. Another way we can remember this is that the T in cation looks like a positive sign. If cations are positive, then we know anions are the opposite and are negative. For practice, let's say we have an atom of sodium and it loses an electron. Is it a cation or an anion? It is going to be a cation. Cations are positively charged, and when an atom loses an electron, it becomes positively charged. We can think of this as the atom losing a negative charge. When it loses a negative charge, it becomes positively charged, right? Subtracting a negative number results in addition. One last thing to note is the ions in ionic bonds. An ionic bond is formed between a nonmetal, let's give the example of chlorine, and a metal, let's give the example of sodium. In the ionic bond, the metal gives the nonmetal an electron, so in this case, the sodium atom gives the electron to the chlorine atom. This is going to result in sodium having a positive charge, as it has just lost an electron, and the chlorine atom having a negative charge, as it has just gained an electron. The sodium atom is going to be a cation, and the chlorine atom is going to be an anion. In ionic bonds, the nonmetal atom is always going to be the anion, right, in this case chlorine, and the metal ion is going to be the cation, in this case sodium. Thank you for watching. That is all for ions.